weekly update. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of a tour of the most recent work on the Nodonante, and then we're going to look at the Long Transport Delta, which got the most votes from last week. Um, by all means, if you guys are joining us in the chat or now on YouTube, go ahead and write down your ideas in the comments or in the chat or on our Discord for what the subject of next week's could be. Since we don't have any other suggestions so far, I'm going to go ahead and suggest maybe the openable cargo that was also discussed as an alternative option this week. We also have had some requests for 3D printing tips, amongst others, of which maybe my co-host Zorma could help with. Zorma, why don't you say hi?
Hello.
So far we're just waiting for people to join us in the chat. But considering the fact that this is going to go out on YouTube later, I'll just get started with a tour of the Nottinante. It is a bit of a mess right now because I'm working on the lower parts of the. Oh, hang on a sec. Yes, we're all good. It's just double checking my microphone was actually working. I'm going to switch to the big camera here so we can take a look at the model in progress. So you can see that we actually have got most of the decks out. This is the start of deck 9 of 12, I think. No, this is deck 10, sorry, that I've started on now. So deck 10, 11, and 12 are all the engineering section. And as you can see, it's starting to get quite big. I really hope I don't drop this now. But yeah, we've got a fair bit of work done. It's getting heavy. You can see I've actually got some warped pieces there, but this is just a prototype, so I also have a pile of other parts that are unused, but you'll be able to see it in better detail, I feel, on our Maya screen. So let's switch back to our Maya setup. Again, for those unfamiliar with the fact that the software I use, I'm using Autodesk Maya. Currently, I'm working on deck 10 here and the tip of the engines. Zorima and I are sort of trying to come up with a lighting solution for the engineering section, which is one of the considerations we really have to make before we can get this finished. But yeah,
The time mucking around with figuring out the details for.
yeah, g'day, Chris. Yeah, we're getting close though, I think, and the idea will be that it's optional, but it should fit into the sort of engineering compartment. Is the idea, and I think we've just about got to a point where we know what pre-made piece we're going to work with, or pieces rather. So for those who want to add the investment of lighting, there should be some decent options. The solution we're looking at the moment, if I'm not incorrect, is a coin battery style operated solution.
Well, it's a 3-volt setup. The coin battery is a potential, but you could use a 9-volt if you're stacking more lights on it and go that route too. It depends on how many lights you want to do, but if you're seemingly just lighting up the engines, then yeah, you're using about a 3-volt coin cell.
Indeed. So yeah, there's a couple of options. This base model probably will require some additional modification. One thing that we're kind of looking into, but I don't want to promise anything with, is some LCD lighting for control panels. But yeah, we'll maybe go back to that in the future. So what's different from last time? Mostly some paneling work. I reworked some of the paneling on these side sections. It hasn't had the doors put in yet for the PCPs. I think the PCPs themselves will probably be close to a stretch goal because I'd rather put in a good amount of time to design them properly. But I might have some kind of an option for them to be out, or yeah, I'm thinking like maybe non-retractable to start with, just as a sort of turret mount on top of them, and then through stretch goals, get a little bit more modular with things. So you can see we've got great big sections missing right now, and that's basically because I'm in the middle of working on these parts. So you'll be able to see that the actual engines have started breaking up this tile pattern. I've been putting in a lot more well, I guess little breaking up the pattern a lot so it doesn't look as brick-like. I think in person it looks much better than what you would expect. And I think once Brian's done with the paint job, it's just going to be fantastic. So we'll have to see how that ends up turning out. In the end, I guess the court is the jury's still out on how well liked that will be or not. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff in place here, basically down to the last two decks now, which is really nice to get to that point. Always feels like a bit of an achievement. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of sorting out just to figure out how modular we're going to make the engine section. Because I'm thinking we do a mod where basically you cut things off here, and then you can basically have a Rossi style single engine instead if you'd rather, as a sort of option. But we'll probably have somewhat larger stretch goals in Starship 5, mostly because we're also sharing the stretch goal space with the deck plan viewer, which John is continuing to work on, and I'm very excited to see how that works out, because if we have the possibility to actually plan out all of your decks and print lists so you know exactly what you're going to be printing, where it's going to be a much easier for us to do instructions, because we can literally just send them via the program, and it's like, look at this, you can do your layout. And I anticipate we'll actually start doing our own sort of variant designs, probably for the commercial market, where basically, like, for example, we take Chimera parts and make some prefabs essentially, so that there are additional ships. Yeah, it could be interesting, I think. Anyway, I think we'll actually leave this for now and discuss today's work, since I think we didn't have a whole ton of feedback, but the general consensus was that we had more feedback on doing some modifications to the transport. So that's what we're going to focus the rest of the hour on. And basically what's been discussed is this extension part basically going up further to have a second deck on top here. And there was some suggestions to make opening doors, but that might be a little bit more complicated. So we have a couple of designs here that have some interior space. The best space is actually from the sort of larger, this is for the large turret. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's just a regular turret. Sorry, this one is the cockpit for the upstairs. This one is the upper deck, so it's not necessarily a cockpit. And then we have this piece that mounts both of those. So essentially we're looking at the same connectors. The thing we've got to decide here is which one, the square or the round, we're going to go off with. And I'm thinking maybe this could be good to do the square one. Because the way to split this would be to essentially fill this space but extend it further. So this might not be... I guess we could sort of take out this whole shield generator sort of thing and replace it with... I guess... Actually, what am I doing here? I want to... So this extends out as long as you want it. And I'm thinking people want this to come all the way out to there. But that also means that we need to go up a little bit higher. So usually what I do when I'm starting out is I want to get my grid going. I've got a lot of stuff hidden in this scene. If you are too far, then it's probably NBM. Okay. Let's see. What we need to do is map out the space in between here. So hopefully this is mostly aligned to the grid, but if memory serves, and I think the cockpit's a good indication, it's 2 inches wide, this passage. So we want to have a solution that's at least 2 inches wide, and the best thing we can do, since the ceiling height is also 2 inches, what we want to be doing is creating like just a box, and we're gonna stick it on the grid, and we're gonna go up, and that looks square, so it's probably 2 inches, and let's see, height 50.8 millimeters, depth 50.8 millimeters, and that is exactly the measurement for 2 inches in metric. So yeah, hey Blake. Let's see, Blake Tech. So if we move this here, we want to just sort of get it aligned with, first of all, where the floor is on this deck, which you can see. So this is the deck below. So what I'll just do is duplicate this, so we get an indication of where it's going to be. Okay, interesting. So this is maybe a little bit wider. What does this look like? It's been a long time since I've actually looked into the transport. Okay, so this has got, oh, it's 4 inches wide there. All right. So it widens out to 4 inches, although we've got an inch to cover here. So we really kind of need to get up higher. The best one is probably this. I guess it doesn't really matter. So height-wise, you can see this actually sticks out a bit. Oh, because it's not centered enough. There we go. So that's in the cavity now. Maybe a little bit hard to see with the lighting, and really switching to wireframe doesn't help too much, does it? You guys might be able to see. Oh no, Chris, you got Corona? Ah, right, yes, Corona with lemon. Lovely. If only Systembolaget actually reduced the price on alcohol, I'm sure Corona would be on sale, but yeah, sales are forbidden. To have a national monopoly on alcohol. The worst thing is the beer's not refrigerated, which is blasphemous to any Australian. Let's see. Okay, so this is 1 wide. This would be 2 here. And 2 might just be... Wait, that doesn't look centered. Oh, I've not centered this properly. There we go. Here we go. Alright, so question is, do we go all the way from here? It's gonna be a little tricky. This will have to switch back to 2, but you can see the ceiling height's not where we want it to be. So we probably do want a taller solution. Now the Discord did have some suggestions. So let's see where they are. I think it's in the Starship, maybe. No, that's landing gear. I haven't got this on my screen at the moment. I'm just going to move the Discord over a tad, and we'll have a look and see if we can see anything here. So, do you remember where it was, Zorima? 3D printing, maybe?
For what? I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
Where the modifications for the someone was suggesting the changes. Maybe it's in suggestions actually. So
Yeah,
suggestions.
we had a Twitch section. You put it under a Twitch section. You wanted a Twitch
Yeah, yeah.
header.
Not that the there were questions about how to modify the transport delta. I just can't remember which forum it was in. Yeah, there was a
I,
guy who
actually, I don't know. I didn't see it, so I don't.
here
Or,
suggestions. There we go. So this is going 4 wide by the looks of things. They haven't really taken into account the height there. So let's see. Yeah, it would require going up, but that's to be expected. So it's more a question of what we do with the rest of this shape. So ideally, what we want to do is sort of start by splitting this down the middle, and the reason for that being that this version and this version are identical at that point down the middle of this turret port. So basically, we would be doing variations of this that would probably make the turret port a little bit looser. But you could use one of the solid pieces from like the VTOL connectors are probably a good solution there that'll help solidify the turret a little bit more. And then what we need to do is make a sort of middle section and then the end section. And the end section kind of needs to be high enough that it's functional. So these aren't really designed for splitting. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare, but let's get into the nightmare. So if I isolate this, what I'm really looking to do here is find the middle line, which is here and here. And then we just basically want to select everything down this line as far as we can so that we can detach it. But I see already we need to create some new edges, or else we're not going to be able to split this properly. We're also going to have a problem splitting through this section because it's non-manifold. Good work, Ben. The good old days before you were working sensibly. Oh, yes.
part of that is probably for structural integrity. I think you put that up there for strength too at some point. It would be easier to print with that underneath it where you had it, but not for making it bigger, obviously.
No. I mean, yeah. This is for printing it, and it'll probably stay there because I'll have to print it in the same orientation. It's just a case of we'll be able to go a bit wider. And this may be actually something speaking in favor of having it, if not a hinge, but yeah, it's going to be a full height deck. We're going to deal with that. So we're going to bring it up so the ceiling's parallel to this. But we need to go both wider and I think we're going to do like on the upstairs of the scout ship, we had a detachable roof. So I think we'll probably have a separate part for that so we don't have to worry about supports. And you know what? That will make the possibility of later going back and doing possibly hinges or that sort of thing. So basically now I'm going to get rid of a couple of edges that I don't need because I want to make an edge loop. I'm hoping it'll work. Because we basically want to... What we want is a line that goes the whole way through here, basically. So... let's see, this also needs to be triangulated just so we can see where all of those points are, and we want to make sure we're not taking with us unnecessary stuff. So if I now try to create a line through here, it's not working. Why is that? We haven't taken our old vertexes out, maybe. No? Look at all these little bastards. See what I mean about a mess? See, this is just generated. This is the remains of what's called a Boolean operation. And when you do Boolean operations, it takes two objects and intersects them and creates a bunch of new polygons, vertices, and edges. And they don't follow the logic that you as a designer would use. So what I'm going to do, I need to get this to be quadrangular again, so a quad, a four-sided polygon. So I'm just going to pull those vertexes and match them. So all of these extra ones now, I'm just going to merge them. And this, if I go back to my edge loop tool, you can see now that it's suggesting, it's pulling it all the way around that corner, which is what we want. So I'm just going to go in here and go here. This isn't quite as easy as I was hoping it was going to be. It might take a little bit longer, so we'll see how far we get in the space of this this hour. But from the looks of things, it's not going to be quite as simple as I was hoping. Let's see, that goes there, that goes there. They're not straight.
Come on, Ben. Life is always simple. You know that.
I hate fucking Maya. I love it and I hate it. So yeah, there is. Oh, actually, we can cheat here. If we add in a new line there, that should give us a quad. And this one should be fairly straightforward. Just got to get rid of these extra bits and pieces. So normally these days I wouldn't recommend. I try to avoid using booleans as much as possible these days, just because they create such a mess. And usually 9 times out of 10, if you're having mesh issues when you export to STL, that's why. So it's a real pain in the butt. Let's see.
Problems when printing sometimes too.
Yes, that's what I mean. They create these artifacts and things that the printers have trouble interpreting. I'm just going to delete history to keep this rolling. Since this is a copy, we don't need to worry. Okay, so now I should be able to get my lines on each of these going. What do we got there?
Yeah, it's kind of irritating when somebody like wants me to help them with a model that they're having a hard time printing, and I'm like looking at it trying to figure out what's going on, and I find it's got all these extra crap, triangles all over the place that are creating problems, or broken facings or stuff like that. And
yeah, some of my older models are not as well done, you might say. So the thing is, it takes quite a substantial amount of resources to go back and try and to fix it. So when I'm implementing solutions and I'm trying to do things better in the future, but at the same time I'm trying not to be spending an entire year rehashing what I've already done. So
criticizing what you did, I was just basically saying that there are other people's models that we end up supporting or helping, and we run into that a lot with that kind of support.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that don't, like, they're fairly new to modeling, or they've come into modeling via sculpting instead, or some other method that's not quite as efficient. And yeah, the meshes can get a lot messier, certainly. Not to toot my own horn or that sort of thing, but I did spend quite a few years in animation before I switched to this kind of modeling. Yeah, it's a little uglier than I would like it to be. I'll probably go back and clean that up a little bit later, but the point here is to sort of cut it off. And what I'm doing is I'm vertex snapping these to this line that we're drawing through, and I'm just gonna go and create links between all of these lines. So basically we're looking for one long edge loop along the whole thing so we can separate the front into the back. And yeah, it can be a little bit tedious. Lots of camera rotations, lots of double checking things and looking for problems. Let's see. So we need that to be bridged as well. And I think Ah, son of a bitch, I just realized there's a second side. But you know what? This is a duplication of itself, so rather than doing twice the work, we're just gonna do a cross section here as well. Get rid of this line. Add one back here. And basically we should have a line right down the middle through all of the parts now. So I'm just gonna go ahead, take this side of the model and ditch it entirely. Ah, shit, it took too much. What's gonna be easier? Selecting this.
Good chunk out of the front.
Yeah, it's not the most enjoyable thing about modeling, to be honest, but it's all part of the game. Okay, so basically we're going to mirror that other side now, and we're just going to do what I initially said. We're going to select this edge loop, except this time now it should go almost all the way around until we get to here, and then we're just going to separate it down this line. And if I've done this correctly, if I go to mesh, edit mesh, sorry, detach, if I go back into face mode, I should be able to select one half there, move it away, and we actually separate that into its own object. So now there's two separate objects. I'm going to do another delete history. Yeah, doing uni work in Maya. Wow, that's a different level of helping actually. Not many parents would be able to help their sons do Maya homework. All right, so we've basically got the two shells. Now we need to figure out exactly how high we're going up here to get to there. Because I think what we want to do is, let's just, I don't know if that's aligned to there, but all right, that's snapping nicely to the grid, which I like. But we need to sort of figure out how much of a, hey, that's not too bad. We need to keep this front part adjacent to this because it's going to be, you know, the first piece. So basically we'll come in, let's see, that's 4 inches there. I think we'll come in 3 inches and then go out 1. And that'll be the best sort of solution. So what we want to do is have a bridging piece that sort of goes between here and there. And height-wise, you know, that's fine right up until the end. So we just need to get, hey, has this moved over again?
A few people joined, so everybody knows. Ben's going over an extension of one of the ships where he's making an extra cargo section. He's expanding it outward, showing the process of how to make it a little larger and how he goes through some of that modeling thing. If you have questions, feel free to chime up and we'll answer.
Awesome. Yeah, I get a little bit distracted and focused on these.
Okay, Ben, it's why I'm here to help, right?
Yes, that is. It's teamwork. So we will close some of this off. I'm expecting to only get just the basic form in of this. Like, I wouldn't want to split the second part, so either this will be a 2-parter or I'll do a bunch of work off camera. But what we really want to do is we want to keep this turret cylinder, because that's where a turret placement is. But we basically want to extend this back section so that we're creating something like these extenders in between, and we'll continue with that back section right up the back rather than this one. Height being the main reason for that. And so, like, for example, on this, we'd probably have the interior looking something more like this, and we'd probably have to go in another inch like there or something. We'll see exactly how it ends up working out. And of course we'll have extensions, so we'll be able to lengthen it. But fortunately, main issue too is that right at the moment we have very limited support for the top. It just sort of sits in between. So I don't know if we're going to put some slots in there or if we'll just have it all sort of like connecting at the front and the back. Because I'm hesitant to modify the top of these parts because they're common to many different parts. If anything, we could do like a version of these that that have like a slot at the top or something, so there's something to extend it with. Anyway, let's see. Okay, yeah. So the tricky part with this is going to be trying to figure out which part of this to get rid of and which part to keep, because we need the part at the front here. You know what? I think if we move this back down, I think if I zero this, we should be good. Yep, that looks good. What we could do is actually try to do some extrusion to solve our issue. Well, we'll select along this curve. Oh god, it's this bullshit again. Oh man, I've come so far compared to when I was modeling this. So it's almost heartbreaking to see like where you've done the wrong things in the past. But yeah, I need to separate this. So I'm just gonna get rid of those parts are a bit odd shaped. Stupid booleans. Why did I use booleans? Alright, so we need to get all around here, but unfortunately, because I've booleaned this, I've made a right mess with like these vertexes not matching up. Mind you, Starship 3, I did 3 full ships and a bunch of other extensions, so they were reworks of existing ones. Because the scout ship and the shuttle were originally a part of Starship 2 as a stretch goal. As a fucking stretch goal. I can't believe I suggested that even. That's nuts. But yeah, it was quite a considerable amount of work to get those ships done for one Kickstarter, so I wouldn't work. I haven't been able to work at those levels again. Let's see. So we want to detach here. And hopefully this section is separate, which it is. So I'm just going to move the pivot point along the grid so we can realign that. So there's our turret thingamabob. We might like recycle some parts from the top of this or something like that. That will lay in on top once we get this extending.
I'm posting up the ship link on My Mini Factory where you can find the original ship that he's modifying currently.
Yeah.
If you're interested in taking.
So this is the Transport Delta, a long transport version. So it is actually an add-on to the Transport Delta vanilla version, which is obviously inspired by a Corellian design language. I'd imagine most people can see that just by looking at it.
That's the link I have up. It's the Transport Delta long variant.
Yes,
right?
That's correct. So
okay.
Yep. What we can actually do is select these polygons here. Maybe will that let me go over? Yes. So I'm just picking these as a sort of like selection pattern, because if I just do an extrusion, I can bring these back to here, which is what we want. So I think those are the faces I want to be grabbing by the looks of things. And there's all kinds of work we have to do to make this manifold, that is to say, ready for printing. Manifold literally means like basically air or watertight, so you don't have any gaps between the parts. Alright, so we just have this really rough extension at the moment. Yeah, we do have some considerations to make here, because this piece actually comes in a bit, so we're gonna have to cut it back a little, probably just by going inwards a little bit there or something like that. We're not gonna have the issue at the end, because it obviously this piece here is designed to take that. It's just that these side sections do come in a little bit, but not the worst challenge. So basically we want to have a split here, and so now that we've got that lined up more or less, I'm just gonna take this line here and I'm just gonna even it out, and hopefully that's all aligned correctly, and we can actually split this yet again right there. So mesh, separate, oh no, not separate, sorry, detach. It's one of those things that's easy to muck up. So now we have the back side, which is completely separate. So we've got the basic shapes, and if I move this into position, let's see, move it back there because our pivot point's not quite aligned to the grid. But if I move this back, this should end right where the other one ends, and we can sort of see where the room is for the interior. So I'll just add another edge loop around this box. One there, one there, one there, quick and dirty, and we'll just we'll ditch. Should we do it angled, or should just do it boxy? I think boxy is probably the best way. We'll see what it is, but I think if we take that chunk out, I'm just going to add back in some geometry here. Sorry, I've been using my shortcuts a little bit more today. Everyone familiar with Maya will know that, you know, there's 2 or 3 ways to go about using tools, but if you want to get things done, I tend to use not keyboard shortcuts, but I use keyboard shortcuts, but I prefer to use a custom shelf where I've just got basically the tools that I want. I do use a couple of plugins these days for a little bit more quicker hole detailing in some places, but you know, that varies a bit. You know what, that's a little bit close to the ceiling there. It should print alright, I think, because these are quite large parts. See, even like the roundness these days, I would have probably just put another polygon of detail into these. They're a little bit, they're not even rounded, see. But oh well, that's the problem when you go back to old work. It's like, oh, I could have done this better, oh, I could have done that better. So let's see, if we bring these pieces in here, somewhere like that. That's interesting. Why is it like that? Why is it going inside? Oh well, we'll ditch it. So we want to get rid of that. That should hopefully bring us back to where we were. Yep. Okay. So we want to figure out how much we want to go in with this sort of like ribbing, and I think it'll be more or less easy to just maybe reposition some of this as an example. And this will also give us a better idea of how long we want this to be. So Oh, interesting. That was not 100% on the grid. So let's just go to vertex snap, move our pivots to that edge, and it should align this time. Yep. So this goes in. Huh. Have we found a problem? Does these parts not really allow for the roof to work fully? Maybe I need to change that. I don't know anyone who's actually built this yet. It looks like it's intersecting. Am I still having problems with print adhesion? Less. I printed this one at home, and you can sort of see it's not really bent on the bottom at all. So this is what I'd consider good adhesion. I actually used some 3D lac, which is a print thing. I've also been using just hairspray on this printer, and I've been mucking around with the print settings. It's funny, different people seem to have completely different solutions. But yeah, I do find it's difficult to get the PLA to stick to a prusa if it's not warm enough. And I think my warping's been occurring due to I have a sneaking suspicion there are some people in my office that do ballet in the room outside, and they might be responsible for some of this layer hopping. I don't know exactly how that would have been achieved, but it's my only working theory, because it's very weird that the layers would actually, you can see it sort of here. So I've had quite a few reprints, but I usually print about 2 ships for every one I design worth of parts. Anyway, let's get back to the more interesting stuff. So really, we may have to... Yep.
I'm laughing because you're like, the more interesting stuff, because you're a designer.
We may have to go back and redesign these parts so that we don't have the issues with the ribbing here. I think it looks like we're actually dealing with some issues that people might have if they print this piece, because it looks like these parts are actually intersecting, so we need to be back here. That's not great. I wish I'd have seen that. I can't always test every print variant. So let's see. I think the least amount of parts we'd have to modify is if we go, well,
when Ben finds with something like this, he'll correct it and update it to the main uploads too, so that you get it for free. It's not like you have to pay for
oh
it.
no, hell no.
If you have a problem with anything that you're printing, you can hop on the Discord and ask Ben or me, and we'll get you straightened out and fix whatever problem if we can.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to figure out right now, if I just make my my thoughts known, I'm trying to figure out if it's more optimal for me to try and fix these 3 parts so that we don't have this issue, or if it's better to fix this part, and yeah, it would just be those 2 parts, but they'd have to be modified so that they sort of like are angled here. So, well, fixing 2 parts is better than fixing 3 parts, and also these are smaller. So I'd be more inclined to try and come up with a solution for them, I think. It makes more sense. Aesthetically, I think it would look better if we actually move these lines, but if people have started printing out these, I think they'd be far less frustrated if the solution's up here. So that's what I'm going to go for, and I'm probably going to kick myself a little bit for missing that. But, it'll kind of create an interesting looking shape, I guess. Just annoyed more than anything. I think we're gonna have to go all the way back there, so we'll select these ones, and we're just gonna match them to the bottom here. Same here. Might have to look a bit closer.
Yes, Blake. That's why we're actually working on the other software that will be in the next release for this ship that will allow basically a kind of a log file of various parts so that Ben can update things more easily and there won't be as much concern about, whether checking for upgrades or whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
mean, planning things are going to be easier, and not only that, we're actually going to be able to allow, possibly, I don't know if it's going to be in a commercial version or not, but you will be able to plan your own decks, and I'm thinking there will also be a way to share your deck plan. So instead of like just showing a picture of how did you build that and trying to explain it, it's like, yeah, here's the file for the build list, here's the build list, which it'll print out, and if you have the parts, you're good to go. 8 people.
I think part of it is he's basically saying that when there's an update that my manufacturer is not stating that you update. Like, so if you find a problem, Ben, and then you go and correct the file, Blake doesn't know that he's got a
Oh,
corrected
right.
file
Well,
out there.
my manufacturer has recently actually done an edit so that now at least I can actually send people out an email when there's an update. So that's already implemented. Um, it's a bit of a pain in the ass for me to use at the moment. It's not optimal. Or ideally, I'd like to be able to, in the download list, be able to have some kind of link which actually compares the dates. So the optimal version would be if my manufacturer looks at the last time you downloaded the file and it tells you the version you downloaded and then highlights if there's something newer. But I can't expect my manufacturer to change everything about their site for me. As much as I would love them to listen to me that much, they obviously have limited resources that they're working with. They also have an entire site that they have to take care of, and lots of different things that need attention. So, I'm happy with what they've been able to attain so far, but it did take us a while to get to where we are today. And there's obviously room for improvement always, but let's see. We want to bring this back here. Where's our line at?
But stopping by Discord to give us suggestions too. If you have suggestions on stuff you want to see or want to change, if you let us know, we'll look at it and see if it's something we could do, or just help you with fixing your printer if you need help, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most solid tip there is actually like getting help with printing. I've had a couple of people approach me on like Facebook chat, and really, my focus is on modeling. It's I know there are people that can get better print results than me. I only really print to prototype for the most part, so the best advice is from folk like Zeroma and others that have this great level of printing expertise that I don't have. So I strongly do recommend joining that. Anything they change for you will benefit others, though. That's true, and I mean it already has. There have been a ton of Kickstarter campaigns now that are using the Pledge Manager, and all of that was because I partnered with my manufacturer and got them to create a Pledge Manager. And as more people create campaigns and have different needs, the tools and support is going to be increased. And I think for their part, my manufacturer is quite happy because Kickstarters tend to bring in a much higher volume of customers and products, and I can't complain because as opposed to back a kit, my Mina Factory actually has outsold them compared to my past campaign. So I'm very, very pleased with that. And it's helping me to survive these more uncertain times. So now that, okay, there'll be a longer delay getting the Nodonante out to people, but I want to do it properly this time. And I know that now more than ever, it's important to show great results and a great project um, because people have to think a little bit extra about what they want to spend their money on. And if you've checked out Kickstarter lately, there are absolute shit ton of projects at the moment, and even in my category. So I don't want to be trying to compete with board games like from CMON and stuff like that. I want to see some good results, but at the same time, I also want to basically attract some new customers, so that they take 10%, 10%, which I find completely fine, considering the fact that they're hosting it all, as well. I don't have to worry about that stuff, and even my website, I basically just link to the My Mini Factory site. I'd like to be able to do some more stuff with them, so that it's sort of an Amazon style. Giving people commissions for putting up links and stuff like that sort of thing. So that I don't know exactly how that would work, but some solution like that would be really great to help reward some of my most loyal backers that really help get my stuff out there. Let's see. Okay, so this is coming in there. We're going to have a second section here, but we've got to go all the way out to here because we need to cover the back of this. So I'm just going to grab these edges and we'll do an extrusion. Let's see. I think a big thing on Kickstarter is to have most of the stretch goals ready when the campaign ends, so that people are not waiting months to get everything. I backed a project 2 years ago that's just not finished the last stretch goal. You know what? It all depends on what you're promising, and I think most of the time the issue is actually people don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're promising, and a couple of years before I started with Kickstarter, I had a startup company that I was a part of. And sort of went through the whole business process of things. So many people on Kickstarter don't know what they're doing or just put stuff up, promise the world, and then they're left delivering forever. But usually that's because people are over delivering as well. So it's much better to come up with. I always try to put stretch goals that I know I can do. With few exceptions, I mean, Starship 4, miniatures aside, because they were outsourced, has been the quickest delivery of any of the ones I've done. And that is in part big from learning the lessons of earlier Kickstarters. Did I track down the person that shared my files? No, I didn't. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm sort of like, I'm doing well with my work, and it's not going to affect my bottom line that much, but it's still at the point where it hurts. It's not like I'm a huge organization or anything like that. I still have a staff member on 40%. I've got my wages to cover and that sort of thing, and that does sort of hurt my survival between campaigns. So it's still, I'm doing well, and this has done well for almost 2 years now, or a little over 2 years. But it's not exactly like stable, like because of the way Kickstarter can change. I don't know if the next campaign is going to bring in another 500,000 crowns. Maybe due to Corona it brings in 250. So, you know, it hurts extra much during these more uncertain times. Especially when it's just a case of, oh yeah, I'll just stick it up and distribute it. And there was something a little bit more insidious about that site because it's got this refreshing thing where basically people can add the links. But, you know, normally I'm kind of turn a blind eye to piracy for the most part. It's just, if I do see it, I want it taken down. So I am thankful when people remind me or show me that it's there. Alright, so this is looking a bit boring in the middle. So let's, what do we do with this one? Let's duplicate this again because we want to try and maybe get a bit of this pattern going. We'll get on the grid. Alright, and then we want to kind of bring this up so that we can basically replicate this pattern there. Oh man, so much talking today because the some people at work came back for the first time since the outbreak because the production's wrapping up and everyone's talking. Bit weird, we just went out for lunch and not a whole lot of social distancing going on. What game am I working on? Well, Widowmaker, this is not actually a game. This is modeling for 3D printing. So
the ships are basically for any 28mm game. They're designed to scale to be used for quite a few games. So it's not like just one game. It's his own designs and setup and but people have used them for team kill or a bunch of other stuff.
So this is the base ship here that I'm working on the modification for at the moment. The Discord, it hasn't got its top on at the moment, but you can sort of see compared to my hand what the scale is like. So these are 28-ish millimeter miniatures. So the roof's come off, got a full interior, it's all modular, prints on a 3D printer. Yeah, basically that's what I do and am doing.
If you look further up the link, there's an actual link to the ship he's working on and on My Mini Factory, which shows some pictures. And if you look at Second Destiny on there, you'll find a bunch of the ships and things that are available and what we have out there. There's also a web page that has a lot of the materials on it. And if you're interested, you can hop on our Discord, which I can put a link in here for you guys, and you can ask any questions and take a look at photos of all kinds of ships if you like. Yeah, I'll go get a link in that.
Ships are my business. So yeah, what I want to do here is kind of like recycle some of this cool cogish type patterns, just so that we've got something in the middle here to sort of make up for. Are these on different heights all of a sudden? Slightly, maybe? Very slightly different heights. But basically, yeah, we're going to have this finishing on this circle here, right? So we want to just have something in there to complete the pattern. And then what we'll be able to do is, once we're finished extending out to here, we're going to ditch essentially these side pieces. So if I select these, get rid of all of these faces that I don't want. I just want to keep this.
There's the Discord link if you're interested.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got a pretty thriving Discord community. It's a good size. Usually someone on, and I usually post updates as well. So I'm actually taking a break from modeling my next ship, which is going to be Expanse inspired.
Now I show them a picture of that. Show them that real quick.
Oh yeah, I've got the most of the model is laid out. It's a bit of a mess in here at the moment, but you can see the general shape. Height-wise, you guys can see that it's 53 centimeters to the airlock. That's about just under what about 1 foot 8 inches maybe, and then up to the top it's around 82 centimeters, which is about two and 2/3 feet, I think. So 2 foot 8 maybe.
Yeah, that ship's designed to be a vertical thrust ship, sort of like the Rocinante, with a airlock higher up that would have a door on the side there that you walk out of.
Yeah.
So, and we're still working on. There might be a lighting kit for that in the expanded setup, but that's a maybe. And there's a lot of changes depending on what people are interested in. There's the airlock, and the last Kickstarter, which is a large cargo vessel. Yeah, the door's open too. Show them that's out in your real world. Can you point your camera at it?
Yeah. So it's just the cable isn't that long. But yeah, this was the last ship we did. We got a new visitor that came in the post.
A few people. I was out posting around the various locations while you were talking.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the Chimera. It has a larger sort of side thing. I don't know if the camera's going to adjust to the light in here. I don't think so.
Ship that you just finished.
Let's see if I can get my phone light on.
The deck levels come off, and there's internal decks and gangplanks and walkways and engine spaces and the whole 9 yards. No, you buy STL files and you print them yourself. This one just happens to be painted for show. That's all.
I can sort of see like the walkways in there and some miniatures, cargo.
Yeah, that's a good view right there. You can see everything pretty well there.
I'm just trying to do things with my hands at the same time, which is a little hard. Ooh, this guy looks a little familiar, doesn't he? Let's see. Ooh, wouldn't want to face that nasty. Bit blurry. Anyway, sorry about my shaky hands.
Currently, he's working on a 2-part show. I think for the last hour, where we're working on extending one of the previous models from campaign 3, I think it was, right?
Yes, it was. In Starship 4, we extended. Oh wait, that's just me. There we go. Well, there were spaceships in the background at least. Yeah, so basically we extended this ship, which is a sort of Corellian style ship. Uses a similar design. Well, not similar. It uses a design language that's a combination of a Corellian ship like a YT series like the Millennium Falcon, and a little bit of my own sort of style, which is more, let's see, 80s animation inspired. If you want to get into some Yamato / Star Blazers, Macross territory, Gunbuster, those sorts of that sort of style, combined with like 80s and late 70s sort of sci-fi, Western sci-fi.
Yeah. We do a weekly show during about an hour before now, every Friday, to go over where we're at on whatever projects we're working on and what's available out there, and answer questions on products or printers or whatever.
So yeah, right now I'm just gonna try and recycle some parts of these to sort of like fill in some of the blanks. So basically what we're doing is we're adding an upper deck. We already have a hull extender going.
Can you hear it now, or did it drop out totally? Did it come back? They say they lost audio for a sec, Ben. Hold on a second, just make sure they...
Oh, I don't know if it was on your end or my end.
When you're moving the camera. Everybody good? Give me a thumb up, people, if you know, like a 1 or something. You're good? Never mind. I'll shut up now. Continue.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically we're working on an upper deck. I probably won't get it finished today because it was a little bit more complicated than I thought. But yeah, we're adding some geometry here so that we can print this out. Actually, now that this is halves instead of... we can consider printing it in this orientation so that the plane is here instead. Normally it prints like this. and that might help us with the cavity in there. I'm not sure, because it would at this point require some supports. We could probably eventually do a version where there's a turret on the back end as well. But, you know, this is getting to be a bit more than what I originally intended it to be. Which has never happened to me before. Never, ever. It happens all the time. I always... Maybe not quite to the level of Ian over on Dragon's Rest. I think he's the best at biting off more than he can chew, and he just over-delivers every time. But,
Ben, do you want to stop now, or do you want to continue on for a half hour, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, I'm going to tie things up maybe in at 15:15, so another 7 or 8 minutes, and then I'll let you get off to bed. I know it's very early for you.
It's not the issue for me. I just basically want everybody to get a chance to ask questions, or off-topic stuff.
Yeah. So basically, next week we'll probably either be continuing this or we'll be looking at doing some cargo. But we like talking about suggestions for what we can share on the episodes. I'm happy to share my knowledge. Zoromir is happy to share his lighting and printing knowledge, although at the moment we don't have any screen sharing going on. So it's mostly verbal stuff. So yeah, we have God, that feels like it's not quite the right length.
Hey guys.
What's that?
We got like 3 or 4 more people came in.
Oh yeah. It's always the case. It's like right on the arse end.
If you stop by the Discord, which there's a link above, guys, and it will be published on the webpage. You can pop by there and make suggestions on what you want to see in shows. And like we said earlier, we do a weekly show about an hour before now, every Friday, to go over what we're doing and what projects we're working on and so forth. This again is an expansion to a previous project that was done, the Delta Transport long variant, and he's modifying some of that to make it longer, changing whatever at people's requests from last week. So if you've got some ideas or you're looking at some stuff you're interested in, the idea would be to use these ships again for 28mm scale science fiction games in general, any and all. A lot of people use them for team kill stuff. A lot of boarding ships and cargo ships and transport landing pods and all kinds of stuff like that. We've got a lot of a new vertical ship that will be the new project coming out shortly that we're going to do a Kickstarter for here in the very near future that will cover a vertical takeoff like the Rosinante, a larger ship like that. That's what, 10 decks, Ben? 10?
12 at the moment, although some are multi-decks, like in engineering, for example. Those sort of span several decks. So like the engines.
If you're interested in the printing stuff, you can go hop by the Discord, make suggestions, or if you need help with printing in general, be happy to do that. If you've got a question, you just want to see us print out some of the materials so you can see what some of them are. This particular ship printed, we can do that too. I mean, it depends on what we're interested in doing.
Yeah, like I have behind me.
Yeah, Joke. I guess people want to see the print you've got.
I don't want
to. Chichi, you got to look. We already got you the ship on the picture earlier. So, is there a particular thing you want to see, or that's the new one he's got in his hand? That part of it.
Yeah.
Fine.
What I'm stuck on now is I'm trying to figure out. Surely this width is off a bit.
That's fighters. Yep.
So I'm trying to figure out why this is a different length. So this has 8 sections. Ah, okay, it's this. This is what's different. So, is it though?
Yeah, we did a live stream where we built some fighters. I don't know
we
what.
built a part for the fighters, yeah. So yeah, this like, here's one of the fighters there. We've got
A physical print of one of your fighters. There it is.
another one here. These are all modular. They have cockpits that open. They even have pilots you can print out and stick in them. Here we go. There's another one. So, yeah, we have a few. The bit you're working on looks like it's very time consuming for the 3D printer. Maybe like, oh god, yes. These are not quick. Like, it's a hobby in itself. Printing and painting is going to take a while. The last ship, the Chimera, that takes upwards of a month to print. Maybe not back to back, but you know, very few people can get the printers running 24/7. So,
Well, it's a month, a couple reprints, and you're printing it on one printer by itself.
yeah. So, you know, guys, this is obviously going to be a little bit of a longer process. We'll see if I have time to work on this. Otherwise, we might pick it up next week. If you have ideas for this stream in the future, like what you guys want to see me work on, whether or not it's production on the next ship, so you guys can see as I work on the interior, or sort of stretch goals or that sort of thing. Or if it's like something completely different. Usually smaller things are better because I can tackle them in the space of an hour or so. Because I can't be streaming all the time. Yeah, the parts are all open lock. Alright, so it's 1:15 now. So I think we should wrap this up, Zorima. And we're going to hopefully... we're progressing on the lighting side. The engineering section of the Nodonante is getting there. The whole detailing's quite a ways along. I just have to just have to get down to the very bottom part, figure out what I want on the base. Left a few places like this. The idea being that you could put a stencil or something on there with like a ship number or a ship name. We've got the main airlock for the cargo bay. Will descend down like so, and then you have the cargo bay inside. Yeah, it's coming together. Alright guys, thanks a lot for joining me. Check out Discord. Thank you, Zorima.
Hold on. I posted up the link for Discord and the link for the project he was working on today, part of it, the mod thing he was modding. If you're interested, hop on the Discord. If you have more questions, I'll be happy to answer them while Ben goes back to doing what he's got to do. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.